if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But if people, start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. Good evening and welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. It is September 20th? 23rd? 23rd. September 23rd. And feels a little early for this, I would say. We got our first officially released trailer for Thunderbolts. Now, this could have had something to do with the fact that I think the trailer leaked, because it's kind of the same trailer as the one that allegedly it's kind of the same as the trailer from, what was that other movie? From when they released it at D23, I'm sorry, that's what it was. But I was not D23, did not see the leaked trailer, so I can't speak to that. But regardless, here we are with the official first look, publicly at Thunderbolts ***. And it's an interesting idea. Because I see people calling it, dark of, like, it's Thunderbolts ***. What does the asterisk mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, 'cause I've seen people speculate, it's Dark Avengers. That's what it is. It's like, it's Thunderbolts, but not really. It's Dark Avengers. But, like, I don't think that's the case. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like 2 S.H.I.E.L.D. guys is a little excessive for an Avengers team, or even a Dark Avengers team. No real, like, muscle to it. Like, no Iron Man equivalent. Like, it's very street level, so to speak, where it's like, I don't think you don't have a ton of firepower on this team. And this movie feels very much like a sequel to Black Widow. And it's becoming increasingly apparent why Black Widow is the first movie they chose to lead off Phase 4. Because that's the thing. Like, let's look through where we are. Okay, so Phase 3 ends with Spider-Man Far From Home. At that point, I mean, a lot of things that we've been seeing are starting to pay off. And I think part of what it is that kind of puts us in this weird situation is that there were a lot of projects and not everything kind of equally paid off the way that people expected them to. In the past, when it was just movies, it's like things happened and then they relatively quickly paid off. So now that we're sitting here and we're like, who bought Avengers Tower, which was first introduced in Spider-Man Homecoming, was the sale of Avengers Tower. Well, now we have an answer. It's the CIA. Like, that's where Val is at the end of this. Like, unless there's something else there. But we are going to get a concrete answer, in this. And I'm intrigued by this movie. I don't think the trailer does quite as much as I don't think you need to sell me on this, but you do need to kind of get me a little bit more on board, I think, if that makes sense. Because I think the issue is, like, I like most of the characters that they're playing with here. Like, I did like John Walker, and I like the way they handled his transition into U.S. agent. Like, I really enjoyed that. Yelena is probably one of my favorite additions in the post-Endgame MCU, so it's great to have her here. Ghost I was fine with. I didn't think we would see Ghost again, which is cool. Same goes for Taskmaster, which I'm fine with Taskmaster being here. And then David Harbour is great as Red Guardian. Like, I think we have a lot of great pieces in this, so you don't need to do the Guardians of the Galaxy sell me on this task, because I've already been mostly pre-sold on it. And I think the issue is the characters that I'm not already sold on, I'm not, like, this trailer doesn't do anything to really push them. But we'll see how that all works out. What else have we got with this? And the thing is, I still have no idea what the plot is. Like, I watched this trailer, I am no closer to understanding what this movie's about, who the main characters of this movie are. Like, I know who the characters are, but, like, what their goal is. What is Val's goal in all of this? Because she's clearly the bad guy, so what's Val's goal in all of this? Like, could this be a situation where they're playing with us and the asterisk is kind of like, what's that movie called? Like, Suicide Squad. The 2016 Suicide Squad. Where it's like, could it be that kind of situation? Where it's like, they're playing with what the lineup is. And this could be teasing one take on the lineup, and then that team ends up being replaced with another. I don't think that's the case. I feel like if that was the case, we would have heard something about it, like, oh, and now Haley Steinfeld was spotted on set or something, or like, what's her name? Like, Iman Vellani was spotted on set or something. Like, I think that the confusion that I have is just kind of, where are we going with this? And what's the overall kind of plan? It's also very dark. Not thematically dark, but just kind of visually dark, which I think could harm it, going forward. I mean, I think the Snyder fans will be like, fuck yes, they're making a real movie now at Marvel. Because it's like, well, you can barely see what's on the screen, so that makes it a real movie, right? But, like, it's hard to kind of make out what's going on in a lot of places. And granted, I watched it on my phone at work, and then I watched it again on my phone in my car before I left. And I feel like there are some good bones here, and there are some cool things that could be explored if they commit to doing it properly. I just don't know that they're going to commit to doing it properly. And then also, we are, to quote Doctor Strange, we are in the endgame now. Where it's like, right now we have a Avengers movie coming relatively soon. We have an Avengers movie coming, like, 2 years, or a year and a half, because Kang Dynasty, well, now Doomsday, comes out in the first week of May 2026. Next year we have this. There are 3 movies confirmed. Possibly 4. I'm not going to discount that there could possibly be a 4th movie between now and then. We definitively have 3 movies on the slate between now and the next Avengers movie. I'm not saying we have to be building 100% of the time to this Avengers movie. I'm sorry, I'm tired. And I think it would be foolhardy to say, like, oh, well, anything that's not building towards this Avengers movie is not worth exploring. What I will say is that we've had minimal build-up up until this point in a way that, like, we're not dealing with, like, this isn't building up to Age of Ultron or even the first Avengers movie where it's like, all you gotta do is introduce the characters. For the first Avengers movie. You just gotta introduce the characters. And I would say even for Age of Ultron, you don't gotta do a ton of build-up. Like, there's some build-up, because, like, I think you get the idea of, like, Tony Stark wanting to use artificial intelligence to run the Iron Legion, like, is kind of set up in an Iron Man 3. Like, you get this idea that, like, the beginnings of the Infinity Stones getting to, you know, to be in play in the Dark World. Captain America blows up S.H.I.E.L.D. entirely and creates a situation where there is no apparatus governing the world's safety, so Tony Stark can come in and be like, well, we have Ultron now, we're going to use that. It's an interesting question that you're kind of faced with as a studio. It's like, dude, like, you know, you've put all your characters in an interesting place, and now let's see what's going on. And on top of that, too, Hydra plays a major role into the creation of Ultron, which is, you know, the Winter Soldier. This isn't Infinity War, where it's like Infinity War has a ton of build-up because there's a ton of moving parts that needed to be addressed to get into it. The issue I have fundamentally with this is that I'm not 100% certain where this is going. I have a theory. Like, I have a theory that this is kind of the setup to a character that has incursioned or encouraged or whatever verb we're going to use for having come over to the MCU from another universe. And that's going to be the kid who is Sentry. I think it's Bill Pullman's son. But he shows up, and it's kind of an interesting situation they've now put this character in, where it's like, okay, so we have this entire team of, like, nobodies and misfits, and what this feels like is these are all people who have been used by Val to carry out her dirty work. And now, as she's starting to get power, which we may see the beginnings of in Captain America, we don't know for certain, but if that's the case, then we start seeing her power start to grow. And I mean, not superpowers, but like her political power as she starts to become more and more of a major player politically. That would be an interesting situation to put this character in. And to that end, let's, like, her doing this would be her way of clearing up the loose ends. She was using these people. The problem I have is with the amount that we've expanded out the MCU with all of these other projects, we haven't really seen that. Like, we saw her use, we saw her use specifically Yelena. And it didn't really work out, I might add. I mean, in the trailer we see Yelena doing shit, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, how much of this is actually something that, what it seems like is she's trying to get them all together in one place and then kill them all at once. And they're going to realize, oh shit, she wants to kill us. And that's, I think, where Bucky being on the other side of this kind of comes in. Is this idea that, like, Bucky wants to, Bucky's being used, I guess. But, like, at the end of the trailer, it's like Bucky's trying to kill him. I want to know why Bucky's trying to kill him. That's the thing I'm most engaged by with this. I want to see why he wants to do that. And I think that's kind of the point where I'm like, let's see how this plays out. Or could it be that, like, she's trying to damage the credibility? But the thing is, there's no Avengers. So what credibility is she trying to damage, and with who? So, like, that's kind of the problem I have with this, is that the MCU has gotten so wide and so sprawling. We've had so many TV shows about so many characters. Like, this year we had 2 TV shows. 2? 3? No, The Acolyte was the other show I'm thinking of. And that was Star Wars. But, like, we had Echo, and we had Agatha. Neither of which play into this at all. Like, it just kind of feels weird. Like, that's the thing. Why is it not... Like, why is Echo not in this? Why is, like... And that's the thing, is I still have so many questions, and not in I'm excited to see how they answer them. But it's like, I think it does a lot to kind of leave us in this weird situation that the MCU has kind of put itself in. Specifically this idea that, like, well, what's our, where are we headed? And we know we're headed toward this conflict with Doctor Doom, and he's going to be an incursion from another universe. You have an alternate universe Doctor Doom, who's going to be played by Robert Downey Jr., and he's going to be the bad guy in the next Avengers movie. That's fine, and I get what you're going for with that. I feel like you still should try to build up an incursion. And if this is going to be the May slot movie, which, like, more recently we think of that as the Avengers slot, but the May slot movie is a marquee spot for Marvel Studios. Like, that is, they have used that slot for their major movies for a long time. So, I'm just kind of a little confused about what this is going to do for the wider universe. And again, the issue is it's a crossover movie. Like, the crossover movies from Marvel Studios, it's not it's not like within its own franchise where we can expect a character study. And look, you still can get a character study in a crossover. Like, we got character studies in Infinity War, which is a character study of Thanos. There's a what's it called? You get a character study of Tony Stark across, like, Age of Ultron, and you get these looks into these characters that are deeper, and you get to use the other characters to play off of them as an exploration of who they are. The issue that I have is that a good amount of these characters haven't really been fleshed out, so that's a problem right there. Like, I don't think there's enough backstory for enough of these characters where I'm like, all right, I don't care enough. But then on top of that too, it's like, I don't buy that they're necessarily bad guys. Like, it feels a lot like the issue that I had with Black Adam, where it's like, in Black Adam, like, he's an anti-hero, he kills people, but, like, it's never he never kills a good guy. Anyone he kills is someone who is pretty clearly a bad guy. Like, and the only person it's like, yeah, Ghost was a villain, but I don't think Ghost ever had any intention to kill. I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp in quite some time. That would have been before Quantumania came out. But, like, I don't think Ghost had any intention of killing Ant-Man or killing Hank even. I think she just wanted to get some stabilization for her Matrix. Like, I don't think, like, I'll say the closest to, like, an actual outright bad guy on this is John Walker. But, like, Yelena is not a bad guy, in the same way that, like, in these movies, if someone is brainwashed, we don't consider them a bad person. We don't look at, like, Black Widow and be like, oh, well, she was, she did some bad things, but, we don't, count that as what she did. Even Hawkeye, who went fucking apeshit and just went through and started murdering people in the criminal underworld, as Ronin. Like, we don't look at him as a bad guy. Like that's the issue, is that it's like, they're bad if you have a black and white morality, which I don't think these movies can afford to, over killing blanket. Like, if the act of murder in these movies is the dividing line between good and bad, then I don't think there's a Marvel hero who is good in the MCU. And also you have to sit there and divide the line between, like, murder. Okay, does it count if they're not human? Because, like, even Spider-Man kills people in the MCU because he activated instant kill, and then, like, he's directly involved in the murder of Ebony Maw. Like, and I think Cull Obsidian in Endgame, if I remember correctly. Like, and they may not be the Outriders, but they definitely, they have above average intelligence, and he's able to murder them. Like, Iron Man kills, Captain America kills, like, Hulk kills, and Hulk, I think, kills innocents. Like, innocent people die in the Incredible Hulk, and in what's it called, in Age of Ultron. Like, there are a lot of, like, if the morality is going to be you can't kill anyone, then like that's a weird place to impose this rule that like you need to have no blood on your hands. And if that's the case, then everyone in the MCU is a bad guy. But look, I'm interested to see where this goes. Like, I don't think, like I said at the beginning, it's like, well, the CIA owns Avengers Tower. I don't think the CIA owns a skyscraper in New York City. I feel like that'd be a really weird choice. And I feel like the optics of the CIA buying what was Stark Tower, then became Avengers Tower, and then I was like, okay, and now the CIA runs it. It's like, okay, that's a little bit of a question. I'm not entirely sure if we're, thrilled about, but whatever. Let's see where this goes. Like, I'll show up and watch it, but like, I'm less on for this than I was after seeing the Captain America trailer. Like, Brave New World, I'm like, I am all in on this. Let's see this. Let's fucking go. Like, here I'm kind of like, alright, I'll watch it. Like, I'm interested to see what direction they take this in, but overall I'm kind of like, my expectations aren't super high. Which is a shame, because I like a good amount of these characters, and I think that these characters are interesting and you could do something cool with them. But yeah, we'll wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.